You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
I'm Ashley Winch in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I'm Jamie Jennings in Norman, Oklahoma. You're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Wednesday, October 23rd, episode 3547.
Hello, Horse World. It's Wednesday, the day you start daydreaming of a weekend with your horses. We'll help you get there with more silly horse talk on Horses in the Morning.
That's right. I'm here, and it's not a best of episode. Glenn texted me this morning saying that his 3-hour surgery went well. He's doing good compared to his other surgeries so far. He's lost his voice, but otherwise as expected. So
I'm just sure Jennifer is devastated. He's lost his voice.
I was very pleased. She sent me some pictures yesterday that I will not be sharing in the auditor room, but they're hysterical, and I might keep them for blackmail purposes.
I think he posted a picture of him post-surgery so for those who don't know, Glenn had a nasal surgery, I guess. And so, so imagine bandaging that, I guess. Poor guy. That has to suck, though.
Absolutely. And, I joked with him from the start. I was like, Glenn, if you just wanted a nose job, get a nose job. You don't have to make up this whole backstory.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know how my boobs got bigger after that back surgery that I had. Weird.
So strange, the side effects these days. Oh, I'm so excited to be back on the podcast with you, Jamie, and just back in the saddle here at HRN. And we do have an exciting show ahead for you guys. We have Joy Hills of the Retired Racehorse Radio podcast joining us to give us a recap of the makeover that I think was just last weekend. So she's still feeling pretty fresh from all that. And then for our health segment, we're going to explore what Autologous protein solutions are and how it can help horses with Synovitis. So let's get this party started with some daily Whinnies. Shockingly, we have no birthdays today, so I can't pronounce your names correctly and make Glenn feel bad. However, we do have some new auditors, Sam and Katie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so happy you're here, and it's the best place to be on the internet as far as I'm concerned. And I am wildly partial, but it's also the honest truth. And big thanks to Amy for increasing her pledge.
I'm super excited tonight. I get to take Anna. This is becoming a theme with us. We are going to the racetrack to Remington Park. One of the participants of the clinic, Matt, him and his wife, Leisha, they're a part of Family Stone Racing. So they're a racehorse owner group, and they have a horse running at Remington tonight. And the 10:50 race p.m. Yeah, I'm going out after dark.
On a school night.
On a school night. I talked to Anna and my little exchange student, and I said, if you want to go, you cannot complain about waking up for school next morning. I won't. So we get to go see Mazuma run. And why this is really special is Mazuma is a son of American Pharoah. So I'm super excited to see American Pharoah's son Mazuma run at Remington tonight. So think good thoughts. Happy. Pray to the racing gods as we get a victory. But it's going to be super exciting. I just want to see him run.
So does Anna understand that this is not a normal American experience, or does she think that this is how all teenagers are running around?
I mean, might as well let her think it is. She'll love America forever. Yeah, we go to racetracks. We ride horses before school. She loves my dogs, and she takes care of the chickens and the ducks. I mean, this is her experience as far as the American life so far. So
I love it.
It'll be fun. By the way, how's mama life?
Oh my gosh. has been wonderful. We're very, very lucky. Levi is a really good little baby. It's been a journey. You know, having him was kind of scary. There was an emergency C-section moment. But after he made his grand entrance, it's really been all good. He's hit all of his health markers. He's hitting all of his developmental milestones. We hired a nanny to help so that I can, you know, continue working here at HRN, because it would be awfully hard to be a podcaster with a newborn baby crying.
That's
and
weird.
screaming.
I would. Who would do that? Something like that. That's crazy. Who would do that? No, wait. Yeah. Carry on.
But it's so sweet. She's absolutely the best. Her name is Teresa. She goes by Nana. So both my husband and I refer to her as such. And it's wonderful to have him still in the house and know he's being cared for. And I love it. I love every minute. I can't wait to get him a pony. I've already had some auditors reach out and be like, so where are we getting this pony? When is Operation Pony happening?
I mean, just let us know. He's 3 months in. I mean, he's behind schedule for all I'm concerned. So, but yeah, I know that's so exciting. I mean, this is the time, like these first probably 4 years, no, the first like 6 months are just so hard because you can't put them anywhere. You can't set them down. You can't just be like, hey, hang out over here for a second.
Just chill.
You can't go to the bathroom. Bless your heart. This is like definitely the hardest time, but it's also super fun because you get to see all these little milestones.
Yeah.
And you mentioned to be able to do the podcast. I don't know if you know this, but I had Lucas and was doing the show. It's crazy to me. That was 11 years ago.
That is wild.
This is how graceful Glenn is. I'd be like, oh my God, the baby's crying. I gotta go. I'll be right back. Just like leave. And I can't believe people actually listen to that. So those of you who are still here listening to all of that nonsense. But yeah, that's how I had to do it because we're the military family, as you know, and unless you find somebody like you did, there's no family to help you. There's no like, hey, grandma, hang out with the kid. No, there's not that thing because you're military and you're serving your country and you're going where they tell you. So there's just no family connection. So I totally feel where you're at and you're doing great, killing it, crushing it. Way to go.
Thanks, Jamie. That means a lot. And I really don't know how you juggled all of this with a newborn. I wouldn't be. I can't see straight now. Like, I wouldn't be able to focus on a darn thing. So kudos to you. And Lucas turned out perfect. Everybody loves him.
What I did is I taught horseback riding lessons at the time. So I did the podcast and then like trained horses or mainly just taught lessons. I had a riding school. And so the deal was when I had him that little, this is fantastic. This is a deal I worked out with all the moms. I'm like, if you want me to teach your child a riding lesson, you have to hold my baby.
I love that.
Oh my God. They loved it. They loved it. He has Aunt Jill. He's got an aunt. He got like tons of aunts because all these mamas would come bring their kid to me and we would just trade. I'll trade child with you.
Well, and it's so funny. I've had some friends visit since Levi joined the world and they have older kids and they're like, I just want to hold your baby. And I'm like, girl, go for it. Like, give my arms a break. This is great.
I know. So yeah, it's a lot. And I know I look back on this part, especially probably the first 6 months. I was probably fairly depressed. So when you ask how I made it through, I'm probably, I don't know. I don't know how I made it through, but give yourself some grace. If you get tired and you need a break, don't feel bad to take it. Don't feel bad to hand your baby off to somebody else. Like it's all it is. And the one thing that we learned from like our baby classes, this was really good advice, was we live in Arizona. I lived in Arizona and you live in New Mexico. So it's hot. You're in Albuquerque. Like it's hot. One thing that they told us, and it sounds weird that you would have to say this, is when you and your husband arrive at a place together, you have to verbally confirm who's got the baby.
Oh,
and I thought it was great. We still do it now. We will pull up and I'll be like, you got baby? And he's like, I got baby. He's 11. He's like, I can get out of the car myself. But it was like a verbal confirmation that happened because I guess you're so tired and you're so stressed and people just like, get out of the car and go inside, like, oh my God, I can't imagine. So anyway, that was a really good piece of advice that we got that we still do now. Do you got the baby? Yeah, I got the baby.
I love
Cool.
that. We will absolutely. That's like my greatest fear. Being from Florida and now living in Albuquerque is a hot car and a baby.
Oh my
terrifying.
God, everything is terrifying.
It's
now.
true.
Like
that's
your
true.
whole life has changed into trying to keep a human alive.
You don't
Like,
realize
that's literally what you do for the rest of your life.
how many death traps there are just day to day.
It's crazy. And I think that this happens, not to just talk about babies, because I think that this happens with horses as well. And I thought I was crazy, and I've got an answer for it. So, when you're holding your baby and you walk downstairs and you like visually see yourself falling down the stairs with your baby.
Yes.
I was like, I'm crazy. Or you go to turn a horse out and you throw the rope around your shoulder. You're like visualizing the horse taking off and the rope getting around your neck. You're like, so there's a reason that we visualize things like that. It's to prevent them from happening. So if you're about to walk down the stairs and you've got your baby, you visualize yourself falling down, you're more careful after that. You walk that horse out with the rope around your elbow and you're like, oh my God, what if it wrapped around my hand? Then you undo it and you prevent mentally. It's like a mental checklist for you to prevent accidents. And it happens all the time with horses too. But I thought I was crazy. Actually, I was like, why am I having psychotic visions of my baby dying in my arms or me getting run over by a horse or whatever? It's literally your body like trying to prevent those things from happening. I don't know. It's not like science, but that's how I let myself believe that I was like, oh, it's myself trying to take care of myself and my child or my horse, whatever it is. That's probably a tangent that I shouldn't have gone down. But anyway, that's how I felt.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I can't tell you how many psychotic visions I've had all the time. It's just my life now.
Let's hear from our sponsor, State Line Tag. Have you been... we need to get that baby a pony. And State Line Tag is where you need to get all of your pony items. They've got Western stuff. They've got sales on blankets now, and they have a whole new set of products that were just added. You can go in, they have thousands of dollars of giveaways every month. They have English tack, Western tack, barn supplies, footwear. Anna wants a pair of cowboy boots, by the way. Like, she's like, I need some American cowboy boots.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not.
She's in Oklahoma.
Every day she's like, I need to get cowboy boots. I'm like, okay, we'll go to the store. Well, hey, they've got them on State Line Tack. So if you want to check out anything like that, just anything you need, go to statelinetack.com. It's time to welcome one of my favorite people to talk about one of my favorite things, and that is Joy. And we're going to talk about thoroughbreds. Hey, girl, how are you?
Hey, Jamie. I'm great. How are you?
Great. I saw some really cool stuff. The Thoroughbred Makeover was last weekend. Do you still have a horse show hangover?
I just recovered. It literally took a week. Kristen and I were chatting. We're like, does it normally last this long? We've been doing this a while. But it was so good. It was so good.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to get into what you guys kind of did at the end, which is super cool. But just talk makeover to us. What were some of the highlights?
Oh my gosh, there were so many. It's hard to pick from. So it was a really good turnout this year. I mean, granted, there's a lot of things that happen in the world between the hurricanes in Florida, the things that were happening in the Carolinas with the dam. So there were some last minute scratches where people did not show up for obvious reasons. And, we're hopeful everyone's okay there. But the group that was able to show up, I had to remind myself, Jamie, that these horses are 3 and 4 years old. It was a whole new class of thoroughbreds coming in. They were so well-mannered. There's a lot of thought that went into that training. I love that they had a best condition score for each discipline, which I think is really important. So people worked really hard to make sure there was solid weight and muscle on their horses, the shiny coat. So there's just a lot of care and attention was probably the biggest highlight, but obviously the camaraderie too. It is the friendliest horse show you'll ever go to.
It's really cool because everybody, I competed in 2019 and even still, I'm still a part of the community, Facebook pages, and everybody throughout all of that, like we're saying, the friendliest show, everybody supports each other. Everybody asks each other questions for advice. Hey, I need a little help with this. What are you guys feeding your horse to get weight on it? It's a whole kind of community within a community to compete at the makeover. And like, I still have friends from that whole experience. And so, but what I love too, is they keep adding stuff. Like you were saying, the best conditioned. And this time you got to MC the finals.
I know. It's like, dare I say we made it? It's like, it's so crazy to think that, the first year we did the podcast, I was walking around scared. I'm like, who am I to talk to any of these people? And then we're actually getting to MC the whole grand finale. Like that was wild.
So the overall winner, because the scoring kind of has changed a little bit, the overall winner is actually like a friend of mine from when I competed in Arizona. Her name is Angela Carmichael. And tell us about her ride.
Oh my gosh. So she was the first ride of the morning, which was great. She was in the eventing side of the disciplines there. And her horse and her have such a great partnership. It was, I'm not a morning person, Jamie, so I was a little bit nervous to have to speak that early and sound smart for everybody. But to be able to watch her and start with such a class act ride, it was just great. Her horse came in bright and early, 8 a.m. It's chilly. I'm waiting for all these horses to be fresh and ready to go. And it's just a solid jump around. Everything was great. She gave her horse so much praise. Like it was a class act. I couldn't say anything less.
Yeah. Angela's a super person. So so when I saw that she won, I was just like over the moon for her, because she worked so hard at it. And then, so tell us a little bit, because the freestyle was one of my favorite things. I mean, so I competed in the eventing and the freestyle, but the freestyle I think has changed a little bit even since I've done it. So talk to us about some of your favorite freestyles.
So there was one where everyone cried. It was an amateur competitor who did Finding Nemo, and her horse was Dory. She was Nemo. And I was shocked. Like everyone cried during. I think she got second place overall, but that was a great one. There was another team who came in and did Cinderella. There's a bit Disney vibe happening.
What do you mean they did Finding Nemo and did like Liberty stuff, or?
No, so she rode through and set up almost a trail obstacle course, but everything was sea themed. Like she had her horse drag an inflatable shark through. They had pulled over like these balloons that were supposed to act as bubbles in the water. Like it was a lot of training and a lot of creative thought that went into that.
That's a lot of work too, because they give you like 6 minutes to set it up before you have to get going.
You get like 7 minutes total, but that also includes your setup and teardown time. And I'm going to tell you, the pit crews there, they were hauling butt to get in there and give these people max time. I was like, I feel like the pit teams need awards too.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, there's always that girl, which I've definitely been that girl before. So did you have any that girl experiences? I mean, even for yourself or that you saw other people? You don't have to name names. It's fine.
It was honestly probably me. There's a couple times that I got tripped up. My that girl moment, which is on the internet, if you follow Retired Racehorse Radio, one of our good friends of the podcast, Claire Mansman, decided to add a sneaky little sentence into her husband's bio, who had made it into the Field Hunters, Tom Mansman. Love them both. But she had added in that Tom still looks good in breeches. It is morning, Jamie. I'm not a morning person. I had trust in these people. I read that for everybody.
Well, she obviously wrote it down for it to be read.
She did. And then I added the clarification that she did that.
Oh,
we still love Tom, but it is on the internet. So
it's you complimenting
that girl.
Complimenting her husband's butt in breeches. I love it. That's awesome. Well, plug the upcoming or the last Retired Racehorse Radio. By the way, can you believe that you came up with this idea to start this Retired Racehorse Radio podcast, and it's still going after all these years, and you just went and emceed the Thoroughbred Makeover? Like, what an amazing experience. You must just still be like on cloud nine.
I am, because I think back to when I first pitched it to Glenn, And again, the concept idea was like the thoroughbred 30, and it was supposed to just be quick training tips, and it has grown into something so much more. So I'm really, really proud. You were a big part of it, getting it started and having Kristen come in and bring the Western side. It's just more than I ever could have imagined. I love the community we built. So I'm really proud of it.
Well, have you guys recorded because I think the last episode that came out was before the makeover. So you've got the post makeover one coming up?
We do. And I believe it's going to come out this week on the 25th. So
fantastic. Well, I'm so proud of you and excited for you and Kristen both. You're just an awesome team. And you can, again, check that out on horseradionetwork.com. Just search for Retired Racehorse Radio and check them all out. Joy, I love you, mean it. Thanks for coming on, and we will talk to you again real soon.
Thanks so much, Jamie.
Speaking of retired racehorses, Jamie, I have to follow up on Monday's episode. You left us with a bit of a cliffhanger. How did the pre-purchase exam go?
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Oh, you should insert the Daily Whinnie music now or something, because I totally should give a Daily Whinnie, because Smooth Operator passed his purchase exam with flying colors and is now going to be heading to Florida in a couple of weeks when the shipping company gets here. And he's going to go via Equine Express to Jacksonville, Florida to live with my friend Brooke and become an event horse. Oh, I'm so happy for her and so excited. She lost her last horse tragically, and Jess has really spent a lot of time looking and combing. It's been about a year now, so she was ready for another horse, and this is the first one she's pre-purchased, and it went great, and I love it. I mean, I love kind of being an agent for people that are looking for racehorses, retired racehorses. So I get a lot of them in and I just post them. And then if you see a picture of a horse that you like and you're like, this is what Brooke did. I didn't know she was still really on the hunt, and she saw his picture and sent me a message like, what do you think? And I was like, really? So I had him for about 3 weeks now and spent a lot of time with him. And I'm like, girl, come out and see him. I think he might work. So she came out and rode him over the weekend, and then we pre-purchased him yesterday, and he passed. So I'm super excited for hers. And for Smooth Operator, he's going to get a super duper home.
She's so lucky, Jamie, because I think, and I mean this as the biggest compliment, you always do right by the horse. And so people have a lot of trust in you and can buy a horse based on a picture with full trust that, with the pre-purchase exam, everything's going to be great. And I have to say he is one handsome fella. So congrats to her.
Well, he's beautiful. And yes, sometimes people do adopt horses just off the recommendation. But for Brooke, I know her, and I know I didn't quite have a grasp on what she was looking for or what she wanted to handle. He's not the easiest horse. He's kind of a spicier, kind of young, big, giant 17-hand thoroughbred. So I actually encouraged her to come out and meet him before she just adopted him. And I'm really glad she did. And there was no need. I always say that when girls look at horses that they want to buy or adopt, they look at the horse and their eyes turn into heart shapes like in the cartoons.
Yes.
And I looked at her and I was like, oh, here we go. I didn't need to have you come out and see him, but I feel comfortable knowing that he is going to somebody who understands him, and I was able to help her with him and kind of give her a lesson on him, and it was great. So she stayed for the weekend and spent the time with him, and I'm super excited, but I didn't want to screw that one up. That's a friend of mine. I'm like, can't mess that up. And I know you're going to event it. So I'm like, pre-purchase it, come ride it, do all the things to make you feel 100% comfortable about this transaction. And of course the horse passed and she loved him anyway. So it would have worked out either way.
Well, we'll have to have her on, maybe in a year or so and check in and see how she and Smooth Operator are doing, because
I love it.
We love a love story.
I know. I'm so happy for both of them.
With that, let's go ahead and pop into our horse health report.
Oh, yeah. This horse health report is brought to you by Daily Dose Equine non-GMO core nutrition for horses and ponies of all ages.
And I am so happy to welcome to the podcast Dr. Cowles, who is the managing veterinarian equine technical services with Zoetis. And that's a really big mouthful. Welcome to the show, Dr. Cowles.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
the folks at Zoetis reached out to me recently and mentioned that they had done some really interesting research on how we can help keep our horses' joints healthier longer. And we're all interested in that. And a lot of it centered around something called synovitis. So we're going to start out with what is synovitis, and am I even pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, and the way we pronounce it is synovitis, so very close along that line. But this is a common condition in athletes, not just horses, but athletes in general that run around, jump, perform, just that constant motion creates tension or inflammation in the joint. And our body system normally balances that out. When we get the synovitis is when it's out of balance and the synovium that covers those joints is inflamed.
So it's essentially inflammation within the joint. Is that right? Am I getting that right?
The capsule that surrounds the joint. That
surrounds the joint. Okay.
Yeah, the capsule that surrounds the joint. And then that gets inflamed and that creates things that cause other problems within the joint.
Okay. So synovitis, now I'm pronouncing it correctly, is something that's going to lead to other things that we don't want to see down the road. So how do you even know if your horse has synovitis?
Usually what you see is that you'll see a little swelling in the joint. So around that joint, that pocket fills up with fluid and that synovitis causes inflammation. And so you see a little swelling. You might see pain on palpation, sometimes a little redness or heat that you'll feel in the joint. And that can be all synovitis, that early process that's starting to happen.
So if I have, and seeing as how this involves joints, this is swelling that we're going to see around joints. We're going to have some heat.
Yep.
So early on in the early stages of synovitis, is there always lameness present, or does it start early and as it gets worse, that's when we start to see the lameness happen?
Right. So sometimes it can be just off a little bit, but it's hard to see the lameness. They're just not riding right under saddle. Other times they will have lameness and you can see it associated with this. So it's kind of a varying scale depending on which joint it's in and the severity of it. But we do normally use like the AEP lameness scale, 0 to 5, and trying to pick out how severe it is for whichever joint is involved.
Righty. So synovitis is not a new thing. It's been around since horses were around. What is the most traditional in the past we've treated? How do we treat synovitis?
Yeah, in the past, the main treatment that we used was corticosteroids or hyaluronic acid, or some people would just use cold water therapy and rest. But for the most part, it was been using steroids in the joint to quiet it down and remove the pain and the swelling that was associated with it so the horse could go back to work.
So Zoetis got into their little heads that we need to have a better treatment system. Why a better one? Why wasn't corticosteroids the be-all to end-all?
Right, because we learned over time that repeat usage of corticosteroids created other problems long-term in the joint, that it helped a little bit, but then chronic use of it caused degradation of the joint. And there's a population of horses that may have metabolic disease. Some of you may, like Cushing's disease, PPID, insulin resistance are a few of them, that potentially giving corticosteroids to would instigate a laminitis case. That wasn't in all things, but it had that potential. So we wanted to look to see if we could find alternatives to corticosteroids that wouldn't have those side effects.
There we go. That sounds like a brilliant idea. So now we are going to move on to another big word that I'm probably going to pronounce incorrectly, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Autologous protein solutions, or APS. What is it, and how is it going to help our horses with synovitis?
Yes, it's autologous protein solution called APS, and it's ProStride APS device that Zoetis has. In this process that you harvest the horse's own blood and take the natural healing abilities of the plasma, the white blood cells, the platelets that are in blood, and you're able to concentrate them, inject them back into an inflamed joint to help quiet it down and bring it back into balance So you get rid of that lameness, that inflammation, some of the side effects that may be associated with that synovitis that is happening.
So is this something that has to happen at a veterinary clinic? Are there only certain specialty vets or universities can do this? It sounds pretty darn high tech.
It is, but only your veterinarian can do this. They've got the equipment and the expertise to take a look and process the blood and make sure it's sterile to be able to put that back into the joint. And plus, they're also the ones going to help you determine which joint is most affected and needs that treatment, where it's lame at, where this is happening. You know, they're going to do that evaluation to make sure we're treating the right joint or the right problem.
Well, that's true, because oftentimes when our horses have lameness issues, it's not just his right hock hurts. There's compensatory things going on. So there's a lot going on. So it's very, very important to have your regular vet who knows you and your horse well to help you with this process. Correct. Are there joints that are more commonly treated with this, or not commonly, or shouldn't be treated with APS?
So almost any joint can be treated with APS that's in the horse, especially if it has a joint capsule, which is usually looking at our stifle, hip, down the leg on the back end, shoulders, and things like that, the lower limb.
Shoulders, really?
And that process can also be treated because they have a joint capsule. We don't have a lot of data on treating spines, just the vertebrae in those types of situations at this point, because they don't have a joint capsule. We have a lot of experience in joints that have a joint capsule to where the injection can be held within that joint to have its effect. And that's kind of critical for this whole process, is to make sure that there's a capsule that holds what you inject into the area to have its influence on the environment to correct it.
There we go. So corticosteroids, we know, injecting them into joints that have synovitis, long-term has some drawbacks. This is a relatively new technology. Do we have any data on how often is appropriate for the horses to be treated with autologous protein solution?
Yeah, so orthobiologics have been around for a long time. So APS has been on the market for almost 10 years going through this process. So they're not really new. It's just that research is catching up with some of them from that aspect of things. So we have quite a bit of research around where we're using, what we're doing. What can you expect for longevity? That's a good question, because it depends on the severity of the synovitis or the OA in a joint, the use of the horse, the age of the horse, what's going on, and other factors that may be involved in that joint. But usually is what we say is that you'll get the same amount of time that you got with a steroid, maybe even longer. But there's a lot of variabilities that influence how long this is going to last.
There we go. And if we want to learn more about this science, how it works for our horses, where can we go online to get some really good quality information?
Yeah, we've got a few web pages that you can go on and get more information. We have a horse owner website. It's at zoetisequine.com, and you can go on there and take a look at all of our products, but also there's a section for the regenerative medicine, and you can learn more about it there. Yeah, talk to your vet about it as well, and options that are available.
There we go. And as usual, we will have those links on the show notes page for this episode of the podcast. And thank you very much, Dr. Cowles, for stopping by and explaining to us and in helping me pronounce these things properly.
Yeah, no problem. Enjoyed it. And if you've got any other questions, just let us know.
You can enjoy your favorite equine videos all in one place with Ride TV, the ultimate equine streaming platform. The newly relaunched Ride TV has all the series you love, like mini horses and ridiculous ranches, plus top-tier training videos and event footage from Horse and Rider On Demand and BarrelRacing.com. Live the action, learn from the pros, love the stories. Subscribe to Ride TV today for only $19.99 to see where your ride takes you. Visit ridetvgo.tv to subscribe.
Time to learn why some days you're embarrassed to be part of the human race. In Jamie's Weird News.
Well, I have some exciting news, Ashley. And it sounds really stupid, but I get so many awesome submissions for weird news that my business inbox is constantly full of like weird news stories, and I can't actually get anything proper done because I've got so many weird news ones. So it is time to officially announce Weird News has its own email address. I'm so excited. It'll come to my phone, but it'll be easier to keep them separate. Now you won't have to put weird news in the subject line. If you send it to, ready, weirdnews@horseradionetwork.com. Right?
Wow. Welcome to the world.
horseradionetwork.com. It's the birth of I have a new baby, and its name is Weird News at horseradionetwork.com. So if you get weird news, you can now start sending it to that. But keep in mind, I've been gone for a couple weeks teaching the clinic. And so I didn't really. So anyway, I want to thank these people for sending weird news in for the last couple weeks. Okay. Are you sitting down?
I'm ready.
Delia, Amy, Shelly, Anna, Julie, Isabel, Janelle, Maggie, Danielle, Rosemary, Nicole, Lucy, Charlotte, Denise, Julie, Claire, another Lindsay, Katie, and Angela. Woo!
That sounds like the best
all.
sorority I've ever heard.
I know, right? It's like the coolest people ever. And the funny thing is probably about 80% of them sent me the same story. So we'll finish with that one because it's awesome.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So again, if you are looking through the news and you see something that you're like, whoa, that's super weird, let it trigger your brain to send it to weirdnews@horseradionetwork.com. Love it. Okay. So we're going to start with this one because, sometimes good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. And this is kind of both because the authorities were on the lookout in Memphis for a murder suspect. His name is Dario Wilkerson. And they got a hot tip that led them to this house in Memphis. This is the U.S. Marshals that were on the tail of 20-year-old Wilkerson. And on Monday, they got a hot tip that he was possibly at a house tracking his whereabouts to this residence. And they go in the house. They're like, okay, be ready, everybody. Draw your guns. Suspect is armed and dangerous. And they walk into the kitchen, and then they walk through the living room, and they check all the bedrooms, and they can't find him. He's not in the house. Okay. So they walk back to the kitchen. They're like, all right, guys. And then kaboom! And this crash happens. Hits the ground. Wilkerson fell through the ceiling and landed at the feet of the U.S. Marshals. So apparently he knew they were coming. He ran up into the attic and scaled in the attic and went to the very far edge of the house where we all know we were kids with attics. You don't walk on those parts of the attic. You only walk on the beams. Well, he went through the beams and then got next to the beams and hungered down and then just dropped right out of the ceiling onto his face. Boom! At the feet of the U.S. Marshals. I love it.
I mean, what is that saying about criminals are not always, the sharpest knife in the drawer? Come on.
Nope.
Come on.
They said he fell, so to speak, into their laps.
They had to. That was too easy.
That was too easy. And there's some fantastic pictures of the ceiling, where you could just know he went in between the beams. Kids only walk on the beams. Maybe that was just me who got up into attics when I was a kid.
No, I'm right there with you, sister. Come on. Okay. This is 101 hide and go seek stuff right here.
Yes, hide and go seek 101. Stay on the beams, kids. All right, now we're going to head over to Germany. And again, dumb criminals. I don't know what else to say. So there's a pizzeria in the western city of Dusseldorf. And they were so busy. Okay, Ashley, they were so busy. And the hot ticket item on the menu was number 40. Okay. Well, police were tipped off by food inspectors that were suspicious, and they started kind of watching the restaurant, and they discovered that pizza number 40 was being ordered all the time. like number 40 to go, number 40. And they had a delivery guy. And so police finally decided to order a number 40. And number 40 is a pizza with a side of cocaine. Hey, number 40 comes with drugs, y'all.
That's not Parmesan, guys.
No. So, my favorite part of this story is that police went to the apartment of the pizzeria manager, 36-year-old man, and they ring the doorbell or hit the buzzer, and the pizzeria manager allegedly threw a bag of drugs out the window. Just chucked it out the window. He's like, the police are here. He threw the drugs out the window. Yeah, the house is surrounded, and the drugs actually fell into the arms of the police officers.
We have a theme going on here. I thought you were going to say, and then it was snowing in July.
Yeah, no, literally, like he threw the drugs out, and the guy caught him. Like he just caught the drugs; they fell into the arms. So we got criminals falling at the feet of police, and then drugs falling into the arms of these other police officers. So again, it doesn't matter if you live in Tennessee or Germany. Everybody's stupid. Well, I mean, next, let's just say, where else can we go except for Florida?
Oh, yeah.
This story is just weird. It's just, there's no other way to describe it. So, I mean, could have been terrible. So there was a man, and his boat had broken down. Now, there's a lot of unanswered questions. Like this man who has this fishing vessel, and it was 20 miles off of Johns Pass, and this is in the like coastal area of Florida where the hurricane was going to hit. Well, his boat broke down. So I don't know if you like anchor it out there and he had somebody come get him. I'm filling in the gaps here. So he decides, he's like, oh, the hurricane's coming. I got to get out there and fix my boat. So he gets a ride out to the boat, or however he got out to the boat, and is working on it, gets the boat fixed, and starts heading in. It breaks down again, and there's nobody to help him. So he radios the Coast Guard, and he's like, I'm 30 miles off the coast, or I'm 20 miles off the coast of Florida, and he's in the Panhandle area where the Hurricane Milton was coming. And so he's radioing, and the Coast Guard was like, we can't help you. There's a hurricane coming. They were like, keep your tracker on, put on a life jacket, and stay with the beacon, and we'll get you as soon as we can. Because, like, I don't know what idiot goes out on a boat. You know, let it go. Just say goodbye to your boat.
Take the insurance payout and run.
Be done with it. Yeah. No, he goes out there to do it. So they were saying to understand the severity of hurricane conditions, 75 to 90 mile an hour winds, 20 to 25 foot seas. And this guy's out in it. And he survived. They found him 30 miles off the coast. And he survived because he had his beacon, his life jacket, boat was gone. But what did he survive on? His cooler.
Oh.
Yeah. He rode the storm out on top of a cooler.
I just want to know, was it a Yeti, and are they going to sponsor him?
I know, right? Like, what kind of cooler was that he was on? There is a picture of him getting life flighted out. Like, it was posted on Instagram, and all I can see is like just some white thing floating. I can't really tell what the brand is, but that might be some good advertising. Like, hey, if your boat goes down, you've got us.
Well, there was a car fire months ago, and the only thing that survived was the Stanley Cup. And the girl whose car it was, they gave her like 500 Stanley Cups or something. So that would be the angle I'd be working.
That's been, sponsor me, Yeti. Now I'm curious as what kind of cooler it was. Yeah.
Well, and not to go on too far of a tangent, but I actually was in a boat accident. We were demasted on my mom's sailboat, and the Coast Guard told us they wouldn't come save us either because the storm was so bad. It wasn't a hurricane, but we were out in a storm, and people didn't believe me that the Coast Guard can say no. And I said, yes, in fact, they can.
Now, I'm going to tell you how to any of these problems that you're having, Ashley, and it sounds like you were one of them. I'm going to tell you how to fix it. Don't get on a boat.
Well, and I am a Florida girl, so, I do come by this kind of thing naturally.
So you come just like the born with the crazy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, gotcha.
It's in my veins like the swamp water, baby.
Oh my God. All these, it just no, I can't imagine that at all. That's terrible. All right. Finally, the last story. And this is probably 80 to 90% of you sent me this story. So there's a woman in Poolsbo. I don't know where Poolsbo is. Let's see. I'll see if I can. Washington. So she's in Washington State, and she lives in a town called Poolsbo. 35 years ago, in her house, she started feeding raccoons. Like there's a family of raccoons, and she just was like, leave it open for them and like watch the raccoons come up and eat.
Yeah.
They're so cute. They're so cute. Well, I guess it's been getting a little bit more of a problem. And what's happening is they told their friends, this family of raccoons was like, hey, you guys hungry? Cool. Like there's this lady that leaves out food for us. And then those told their friends, and then those told, and she says about 6 weeks ago, the population of raccoons at her house exploded, and the raccoons have been surrounding her home day and night, hoping for a meal. The police officer said somehow word got out in raccoon land, and they all showed up to her house expecting a meal. She had to call the police because she drove up to her house in her car and she couldn't get out. They were scratching the doors. Like it reminds me of like a zombie apocalypse with like raccoons.
Yeah.
They were scratching the door she couldn't get from her house to her car. And it was becoming more of a problem because in her house, they started scratching at the side of the house and the windows. She said demanding food. I can't and there's video. Like it's all there. They call it raccoon invasion.
I just have to know if the cops showed up and they're like, we're responding to a raccoon hostage situation. We need to bring a bunch of trash. Like, I need to know how they prepared.
They have way more fun than that because if you notice a theme in Weird News, the police always like to make tweets or stupid, hilarious comments. And this one is, at this point, it's been determined that the raccoons have not committed any crimes, said the police officer McCarty. And nobody has been arrested. Nobody is going to, they haven't captured any animals. She doesn't know what to do because she contacted a trapping organization to help. And do you know what they wanted? 500 of raccoon to trap it.
Are you joking me?
No, she's like, I can't get these raccoons out of here. Nobody has been bitten or nobody's been attacked, but she's like, it's becoming a problem. She says, I hope that somebody can step in and help me take care of this problem. And yeah, 500 raccoons. So there's no update. At just 900 of you sent me the same Weird News story about this woman who there is Twitter video of all these. Oh my God. It's crazy. I mean, there are hundreds of raccoons outside her house.
I only see one clear solution here is that she trains them and becomes a traveling raccoon circus show.
I mean, that's probably the best she could do. If she could train them to get in the back of her truck and she could drive them somewhere, that'd be a good start. There's basically they're saying the police chief McCarty said it's pretty simple. Don't feed wild animals. When wild animals have a reliable food source, they're going to keep coming back. And that's what these raccoons did until the number of raccoons expecting a meal got out of hand. Thank you, officer. And thank you, everybody, for sending me Weird News. If you see a story like this one and you're like, that's so weird, email it to me, Jamie at Horse Radio Network. No.
Jamie, no.
I got it. Email it to weirdnews@horseradionetwork.com. See how trained I am? I'm like a trained raccoon myself. I just said the same thing over and over again. weirdnews@horseradionetwork.com.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Jamie and I will be back on Friday for some fun and, of course, really bad ads while Glenn continues to heal up. Have a great week, everybody.
Go Mazuma! Spay, neuter, and gill.